I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. He's been in multiple international productions of Cats, performing as Pouncival, Corporate Cat, and Skimbleshanks. So welcome, Darren Tyler, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. This interaction started with you saying, I thought Skimble should be picked for 2+ years, 3+ years. And so I always love going in thinking, all right, I got someone on my side to start. So I'm excited to have you come in and give the Skimble take and then the Darren take.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Skimble builds a bloody train every night.
Yeah.
Like, he builds a train. A train. What's Grizz do?
So
12
let's
minutes.
start. Yeah, it's true. Let's start in the beginning. I always love to hear about your experience kind of learning about the show. So you started on tour in 2003-ish, so you would have had the 98 movie potentially at your disposal, but what was your first introduction to Cats?
So I'm aging myself here, but I saw the original Australian production. I'm in Melbourne. It started in Sydney in, I think 1985, and it came to Melbourne in 1987. So at that time, my whole family would go see shows, and I've got two older sisters, and I had my dad's now passed, my mum and dad, but aunties and uncles, cousins, like there would be heaps of it. And I would have been 11. We went to see the show, and I was mesmerized. I ate it up. I was like, oh my God, there are cats coming at me. And I was like, oh, we're going to be going to see this over and over again. This is going to be awesome. And at the end of the show, 40 of my family all hated it. My dad hated it so much that he said he was never going to go see a show again. And he didn't until I got my first show in 1998. But I just loved it. It was the first show I ever auditioned for when I was 16. And I auditioned and kept auditioning, and I finally got it. But funnily enough, the time I got it, I was in Singapore doing the musical Oliver. And the associate choreographer of Oliver is Jeffrey Garrett, who played Skimbleshanks in the 1998 TV video. And when he heard that I was auditioning, he said, great, let's work on the choreo. So he worked on the choreo with me, and that's the time I got the show.
That's so fascinating to hear. I have two kind of follow-up questions, and I'll hold the second one. I want to hear more about your family hating it, because I think that's it's such a polarizing thing. Because
No, not hating it. Hating it. I hated it.
But have you asked them on the why? Because I've yet to find anybody who's really hated it for a real reason besides it just being like, it wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I just think, and you hear it a lot, the story, it's not too involved. But as a kid, I ate that up. I got what was happening. I knew it was, I guess, simple enough for a kid to go, oh, great, they're coming together, then they're going to pick who's going to get this extra life, and a few cats are going to perform to see which one gets that life. So I was like, this is awesome to me. I think they just thought it was a bit pointless. But then when I did the show in Australia, I'm like, you're all coming. Like, I don't care if you don't like it or not. And they had a ball. They loved it.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question was, now they have to come see you, right? They can't ignore you. And did they turn? Was it because of you, or was it because they have a different appreciation later?
Look, I think a bit of both. Like,
sure.
Although I have been in shows where they've been going, no, it did not enjoy that. Yeah. I did miss Saigon, and they were, again, a whole heap of family came, and they're like, it's so depressing. I'm like, yeah, it is depressing. It's, based in the Vietnam War. It's like, then they went, we wanted more show numbers. Like, get over yourself. It's like, but I think because they knew how much I loved it and how much I worked hard to get into it, and I guess, telling them a bit more about what was going on and what to look for and who to look at, and don't just look at the story, but look at individual cats and see their trajectory throughout. That may not be, they may not get a song or they may not get a solo, but every cat has a reason for being there and they've all got a personality. And that's what I found amazing with it.
Yeah. And I mean, you were at one point you were the twins. And so the twins kind of have this like, eerie moment where they kind of catch it before. And that's something that I never picked up on until someone said it. And then as I watched it again, it was like, oh, wow, they really do have the first turn or the first dance number in these pieces. So like, that's probably a part that your family never picked up on, I'm sure, until you cued them on it.
No. And you know what? The first time I had seen cats, I think maybe 4 times before I got into it. And I really didn't even know who the twins were until before the production, before I got into it, there was an Australian tent tour and I saw that, and a friend of mine was choreographed. And so I watched him and I'm like, wow, they're crazy. Like and it was so fun to play because all the other cats are a little bit wary of them because they're weird. They sense things that others don't. They're a little bit like they would just stare at you much longer than what you'd feel comfortable. Yeah. And they would move together. It was awesome. And it was so I had 2 great Pouncival. One was Siobhan Ginty, who was a close friend of mine, and another one, Siobhan left, and it was Cass and Scroy. And both of us, like both couplings, we loved trying to make it work that we were just one. And that's eerie as well. It's different to Mungo and Rump, who they're always together, but they're individual. Corey and Tant, they're one.
Yeah. My other question about seeing it at 11 is you're kind of right before you're going to recognize probably a lot of the sexual nature of the show. So do you remember? Yeah. Was it just completely over your head, or did you pick up on people? I mean, there's some that's obvious, I think, but there's a lot that's probably you're missing the Demeter storyline probably at that point. You're missing
absolutely
a lot of the ball pieces too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yes. I just thought Vicky was put into a nice lift and everyone's going to sleep. And then then you come and do rehearsals and you're like, well, what? But yeah, I did. But I was also, I was 11, so I was kind of becoming a little bit more aware of bodies and everything. So I thought it was hot. Like I did think it was hot, but I didn't know how obvious I guess not obvious for some, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of, and cats, we were told, Joanne Robinson was our associate and she had worked on the original in London, one of Gillian's assistants. She had put on all the Australasian productions up until the last one in 2015. I don't think she was doing that. I think she kind of retired from it, but she was amazing. And she was like, they are sexual. They are slinky. They're sexy. And trying to find that in your body when you're used to being like this strong dancer. And yeah, you do dances that are a bit slinky and sexy, but not this way. This was animalistic. This was different. And I loved all that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that when I watched it originally. I just went, these guys are amazing.
Yeah, they're just dancing. They're just up there dancing. It's fun. They're
dancing and they're cats.
Yeah. So let's go into your production. The first one was the South Korea tent tour. So this was in 2003 in your Pouncival. Yeah, this is the tent tour the tent essentially that you saw came with you to South Korea, right?
That's correct. So when I was in Australia, it was called Cats Goes to the Circus. And they incorporated circus things. They had a cloud swing. They had cats walking on a tightrope. And even though it kind of fit with the playfulness of cats, I thought when I saw it, it distracted from like the choreography in the Jellicle Ball, which like I love Gillian Lynn's choreography. And I found when all the good parts were happening, I was looking up at someone swinging on a cloud swing, and I was like, oh. So that was taken away when we did the South Korean tour. It was the same setup. The stage was the same, except our audience came around to the sides of the stage as well. And we had these, pardon the pun, catwalk ramps that would go out into the audience either side of the stage that had trampolines in them that would open up. So when we came out of Siamese, because we did back then, Grail Tigers, number was still going, we would jump onto the stage from the tramp. So, but yeah, it was the same tent. It was an experience that I don't need to live again. Like, I love the show, but Korea is either really hot or it's freezing cold. And, you know, we could crawl from the back of the set, like where our change rooms and our warm-up area was. We could crawl under the stage to get to the front, to like the tubes and everything. But there was one time the sewage had broken and we were crawling over sewage to get to our spots. And we're like, idiots. And then, you know, in the winter, it would snow and, you know, we're in the Lycra unitard and yak hair for wigs. Would be these capsicles. It was cold.
Yeah.
You'd sweat either way. Like with that show, you just sweat either way. So it was interesting. It was, and I think in those sort of tours, and with cats especially, everyone, and I'm not trying to downplay other casts that I've been in shows with, but with cats, you are in your element. You are amongst other performers who are at their peak, because you kind of have to be in that show. And you all experienced the same thing. So we really bonded. It was probably the show that I bonded the most with cast is cats in the tent.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you say that, because it's like, it feels like it's a show where every cast I've talked to, everybody that's in a production, one is they become, if they weren't obsessed with it before, they generally have, like, at least for the most part, become a fan of like the experience in the show. But also it seems like you have to become really close to your castmates, because you're also like rolling around on each other for the whole ball. So it's like everyone just seems like everyone's super good friends. And that's like I don't know if that's always the way that happens. I mean, I always think back on sports and you become pretty good friends with a lot of your teammates when you play sports, but there's also probably one or two that you just play, you know, the sport with, but you don't get along with, but you just figure it out. It doesn't seem like that happens in cats. I would assume it does in theater.
Especially when you're on tour, because in another country, you're living in the same hotel as the cast. So you're seeing them all the time. You get one day off a week, and basically those days, because you're in a foreign country, you're hanging out with those people anyway. And yeah, it's great. And it is a family. So, you know, you may have a moment where you just can't deal with one person, and that's cool as long as you are upfront with it. And yeah, it was awesome. It was so awesome. It was the best time. Both productions I did, the cast were great. And a lot of them were in the second production I did too.
Yeah, so let's go to that one. So that's Australia and Asia. It was a tour that was kind of combined, right?
Yeah, so it's I rejoined, and it was back in South Korea, but it was on the stage. And when I rehearsed it, there was probably about 5 of us that joined. And I rehearsed as choreographer. They were rehearsing in the Korean creatives, because once we left Seoul, a Korean cast were going to take over the Charlotte Theatre in Seoul, where we were, and we were going to go on tour around Seoul. So that was really interesting as well. And then we actually got to go back and see the Korean production while we were still on tour. And that was amazing, because I don't understand Korean, but you still understand the show. And it was awesome. Yeah. They were an amazing cast too. And, you know, some of the songs in the show, Skimble especially, is very wordy, and same with Peaks and Follicles. But to hear it in Korean, it's just like, how did they get those words out? It was amazing. But, so yeah, we started in Korea, and then I think what happened, really useful, put on a stage production of High School Musical in Australia, and it was going to do this Australian tour. It opened in Sydney around the same time as the movie of High School Musical 2 came out, and everyone went to see the movie and no one came to see the show. So Really Useful had all these theatres booked, and we had time off in between Korea and China. So it was about every time we moved to a different country, we had about a month off so the set could get there. So they brought us to Brisbane, where High School was supposed to be. We did the show there because there was an Australian set. Cats. We did the show there in Brisbane for a month. And then from there, the general public were like, when's it coming to Melbourne? When's it coming to Sydney? So we went back to China, and then found out that Really Useful were going to bring us back after China and do an Australian run. So we did Australia then, and by then I was Skimbleshanks, and then we did Hong Kong, and then Manila, and I busted my knee in Manila, and I left about a week after we opened. So that was about 2.5 years I'd done Cat.
Yeah, I did not know the High School Musical backstory. That's kind of really interesting. But when I hear about international tours and national tours, Cats is such a well-known entity, but also such a polarizing show that you have your family the first time that comes in and sees it as a group and was like, oh, hate it. And then you've got this other group that's obsessed and is going to come to every single production for a week at a time. What was the international reaction like in Manila and Hong Kong and everywhere else?
So when we were in Manila, our Grizabella was, I don't know if you've heard of Leia Salonga. She was the original Kim in Miss Saigon, and she was the Princess Jasmine, the singing voice in the animation of Aladdin. She's a huge star, like on the West End and Broadway, but she's from Manila. So when she would come on every 2 minutes, or when she does, the crowd would go wild. They would just go off. And I mean, she is amazing, and that's why. But and then in South Korea, we would have the head of the Cats fan club in South Korea. When we went to Busan, she was based in Seoul. She would catch the fast train from Seoul to Busan, see the show, then because the fast train would end, she would have to catch an 8-hour bus back to Seoul overnight, then go to work, and then she'd do it all again. So a lot of the times we'd be doing the show and we'd look in the audience, she'd always get the front row and she'd be asleep. And we'd finish the show and we'd be like, what are you doing? She goes, I really love the show. And we're like, that's awesome, but you've got a Korean production in Seoul. And she's like, I like you guys. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
But we did have a lot of fans that we had I don't want to sound like we're making fun of this guy, but we had a Korean fan and we called him Woo Man, because during the bows at the end of the show, every cat that come out, he'd go, woo, woo. And we're like, oh, Woo Man's in. And he didn't speak English, but he'd always come to stage door at the end of the show and he'd just say hi, and he was awesome. He brought his family once, his wife and 2 kids. They did not look like they were enjoying it, but he was having a ball. So the Korean fans are amazing and beautiful. And actually one of them sent me during the pandemic, Melbourne, we were locked down forever. Mm-hmm. And during the pandemic, I got this message on Instagram saying, I think I've got a version of you. I think I've got you doing Skimble. I was like, no one's got me doing Skimble. Like, yeah. I hardly, and that's the thing, being in theatre, you very rarely see yourself, but it's this, she'd taken a bootleg copy of the number, and I was like, oh my God, it's me. So I thought, that's awesome, because I never got to see it with me in it. So yeah, the Korean fans were awesome. Australians love it. In Australia, we'd only do each city about a month to 6 weeks because it's been around so long. But when we opened in Melbourne, we did a matinee, and then we opened on that night. And during the matinee, Melbourne had this torrential downpour of rain. And there's a partner ball called Moonlight Hits, where you all kind of look up and then you drop to the floor, and then you do this thing called bullets, where each cat has a count that they shoot their right hand up in the air. And I shot my hand up and I felt this drip on my head. And I was like, first I thought, oh, someone sweated on me. It happens all the time in the show. You'd get someone sweat on you. And then it was like drip, 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 drip. And I'm thinking, oh no. And then our swings were on stage, and we had rags that looked like junk in the set. So if someone sweated, because we had the rake stage and it's a perspex stage, so any form of moisture on there and you slide. So we had the swings kind of just wiping up the floor. And then all of a sudden stage management are throwing towels out there because it was like a waterfall. And we kept going. And we found out at the end of the show, Mamma Mia and Jersey Boys were playing across from us and around the corner from us. They all had show stops. and they're not huge dance shows. We danced through it and nearly killed ourselves. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, look, we loved it. It's a hard show. It's the hardest I've ever worked.
Yeah. We'll be right back more to some crazy cats conversations after this short break. So I want to pivot to backstories and some of the like theories that you come up with. Because I think, especially when you're on tour, it seems like the tour casts almost have more opportunity to come up with stuff because you're, as like you said, you're hanging out and you're sitting there and you've got a new city and a new, just a lot going on. But how would you explain, like, what theories did you have to come up with or to really bring your three cats to life? Like, what did you add beyond what was told to you?
Well, with Skimble, I always thought that Jelly, Jenny, Skimble, and Grizz were kind of like the Sex and the City women when they were younger. Like they would hang out. They were really close, and so that was kind of my connection, my closest connections, I think, and my disappointment in Grizz when, she kind of went off on her own, and she was obviously the Samantha, like she...
Yeah, I was going to say, can you go through all of them? Who's which for?
Grizz is Samantha. Jelly is Carrie, but she's Carrie. Jenny is Charlotte because she's the homemaker, and Skimble's Miranda because he's fastidious. Everything has to be on time and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have made the cats into a lot of TV shows and a lot of movies and a lot of things. I had not done Sex and the City, so and it fits. It fits perfectly.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. So that's how I think. But it wasn't then because I don't think Sex and the City was happening. But over the years, I've gone, that's who they were. They were those girls. But also, Joanne Robinson gave me, because we had our three words, which I can't really remember. I think Skimble was fastidious, storyteller. I can't remember the third one. But she also told me that he enhances the story every year. Every year he tells a story and he makes himself a little bit more important. So I kind of played with that, and he kind of does that with Bustafer as well. He gets all the boys in line with Bustafer. He gets the hat for him to sit on and he cleans it all. He almost tries to make him sound a little bit more important than he is. And he's a drinker, so that probably helps him tell his stories a little bit more colourfully because he loves perhaps a spot of scotch.
I had not heard that. That's an interesting. I like that a lot. It fits. I've always heard Uncle Skimble. Like just
yeah. And that was another thing. Yeah, you're the big gay uncle.
I haven't heard the enhances the story every year. It like as I think about at least the choreography I know, which isn't Julian's, it's Andy Blankenbuehler's. Yeah. But it's all very much let me tell you about my, like, I get undressed and dressed, and it's like it's very showy. And so it does really like lend to that. I just had never thought of it from that way.
And that's why the kittens love Skimble telling the story, but they know what's happening, so that's why they kind of play up a little bit of it as well. He has to try to keep them in line but they also listening to see if he's going to change anything. He's going to make himself sound more important. So I had that. And she also gave me Meerkat. Think of a meerkat. The whole, I don't know if you've seen, we used to have a TV show here called Meerkat Manor, and it was like a National Geographic thing where there was cameras set up of this meerkat colony, and they would just kind of stand to attention and look around, busybody. And I kind of felt that with Skimble. He was kind of saying, was there someone better? Is someone more important? And he would rush off to them, like he'd rush off to old Jude. He'd rush off to Gus. So I kind of had him a bit like that. With Corey and Tance, as I said, as creepy as you could get it. Like, I don't think we could. I think we had a connection to Monk because Monk used us as kind of his security. So we would make him aware when McCavity's coming. We make him aware when old Jute's coming. We do that thing, I believe it is. Oh, do it money. And so he used us as his security. But everyone else, I don't think we really had much of a connection with because we were just too weird.
Yeah, I think there's so much to that story that's like not there but could be. It's like if I could write a future storyline, I think like it'd be fun to kind of just tackle them. When I was with the U.S. National Tour and I filmed for the 100th, I was giving plot points to the cast to try on stage. I was like, let's try some new stuff tonight. And the one I gave Mungo, Jerry, and Rumple Teaser was I was like, you need to recruit the twins to be henchmen for you all and like spies almost for McCavity's gang. And they told me the next day, they were like, the actors were so in character and so like staunch that they couldn't even get their attention to get them to go. And I'm like, it's like that's the role, is that they're into the.
Yeah, I don't think Corian's hand, I don't think they'd have either side really. I think they would help old Jude wholeheartedly, but they would do something nasty just because it would mess with people's brains as well. So
I actually didn't know if they would do it. I just thought it'd be fun to see if they could try, like, could you get them and use their powers for negative?
You're a resident director's nightmare. You are.
I know. I am. I tried to pick only things that were, things that aren't like. I'm not changing the story here. I'm not changing the plot. I'm trying to with the differences.
You don't want Grizz to get the extra life. He was changing the plot.
I would like to change the plot. I would like to. I still want to go on tour and just pick a different cat every night. Let the audience.
I heard that on. And I think that's an awesome idea.
I think it'd be fun. It would definitely land. It would. I think it would work. Maybe it's too late now. There's 40 plus years of this happening that like people have an expectation when they go see cats. But early on, you could have done that.
But I also like your idea that the next day they don't show up.
Yeah, they don't come back. Yeah, you bring in another cat.
That's awesome because everyone will be fighting to be that chosen person just to get an extra day off the next day.
So you're thinking of it from the actor's perspective. I'm thinking from the writing. What my idea would be like, no. They come back and they're just like they're the Peter or the Gilbert or the other like unnamed, cat that does the dance in the beginning. So it's like you come back reborn, but you're just an ensemble dancer then. But because otherwise by the 8th show you're gonna be pretty short-handed. If you don't let everybody come back.
Well, no, they had the next day off, and then
just one
they come
day.
back the day after.
Okay,
just one extra day. You only get one day off a week anyway. So
now you're really. That's where bribes are coming in.
For it.
I like that. I'm for it.
Now I'm getting an electric train. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm building an electric train, staging on it.
Yeah. Well, especially pre-pandemic. Yeah. You got to go out in the crowd a lot more.
Yeah,
you had the ability to do that. I was like, now you get to go out in the crowd and try to influence your voters.
Oh, right. So the audience vote.
Yeah, I want the audience to vote.
Okay.
Well, because otherwise, you still want old Deuteronomy to vote every day?
Tugger. They're always going to choose Tugger.
I think you might get. It's a pretty wide range of different answers for everybody. I think Tugger would be up there. I think Mistopheles would be up there. I think Skimble would be up there. I don't think Gus, who gets the logical choice, be up there.
No, I don't either.
So it's,
you know what? I'm not an ageist. I love the elderly. Some people think of me as the elderly, but I actually don't think Gus knows where he is.
Yeah.
I think Jelly's gone, you're coming, I'm taking you out, and she's actually nominated him because she wants him to get out of here so she can have some free time.
Yeah, she wants her life back.
She wants her life back. So I honestly don't think Gus even knows that he's at the Jellicle Ball.
I believe that. I like that. He's just rambling old stories and like a senile old man.
And that's why you see half the cast when it's a Growl Tiger kind of dispersed from the stage because they're getting changed into I was getting changed into a Raffish Crew pirate. But yeah, they leave because he's kind of boring.
Yeah. I tell you the one that always gets me every time is Mungo, Jerry, and Rumple Teaser, and then Bombi and Demeter. And what I noticed, maybe this is just about my own personal take, as I saw it fairly recently again on stage, and I was like, oh, those two numbers were amazing. I was like, maybe it's because it's the only time I'm not grossly overwhelmed with the amount of dancing happening. Sure. It's the only time where there's just the two cats on stage for the most part. And so, but I think you're going to get different votes depending on the crowd. Your Woo Man's going to not know how to vote. He's going to vote for everybody.
Right. No, yeah. But you're also making everyone eligible to vote, yeah?
Yeah, in the crowd.
No. I mean, every cat is eligible to go. Right.
I mean, I think you could narrow it down to at some point, if you're not a super fan, you're not going to know a couple of their names. So you're not going to. Yeah, you can have a write-in. Just put a write-in after you do the cats have the songs, and then you have a write-in vote. So in case someone wants to say like, "Hey, I'm going to pick Tantamile," and most people aren't going to know. I guess they'll have the playbill, but like most people aren't going to know which cat Tantamile is if they're not familiar with the show.
That is true. Okay. I would love to see that Tantamile gets picked and Coricopat doesn't. See how that plays out. That'll be interesting.
This all stemmed from seeing it with Lionel Lewis from the X Factor, and they combine people all the time. So it's like, can you vote two together? Could you vote the twins together?
Right. Okay.
Do you send Jelly and Gus? Do you send, one or two? It gets interesting if someone picks like Bustifer, because then what happens? Like that's also Gus, right? I mean, nobody's picking Bustifer. I actually do have one Bustifer vote on this podcast. So there has been one vote, but it was because the argument was that he's a strain on resources, and so for the betterment of the tribe, if we got rid of him, we'll be better off. Which was the argument. I'm like, all right, I could. That's not the way I was thinking about it, but I could see that. Yeah.
No, Gus, you can get rid of him. And I love the guy that played Gus and Buster at the same day. I was at Pouncival. When I was Pouncival, I was always just being told to stop playing by the other cats because I was a kitten and I want to play. And when I was Corey, and you just staring evilly at someone, so you're not really listening. And Skimble, I went off halfway through to get into my pirate costume. So I've never really connected to Gus.
Did you treat Pouncival differently as Skimble later, having been Pouncival?
Well, see, when I was Pounce, Skimble was very protective of me, and I kind of felt that way towards him because Pounce is technically the youngest male kitten. So I was very protective of him. And then, but I mean, I don't know when I was Skimble if the Pounce was very close to Jelly, but I was also, as Pounce, very close to Jelly. She was like I presume she was my mother, or she was at least the one that took care of me because I didn't have a collar, so I was not homed. Coricopat didn't have a collar either, so he wasn't home. He was a stray cat too. So, but I mean, Coricopat and Tan could look after themselves, but Jelly really looked after me as Pounce, and Skimble kind of wanted to sort of take care of all the little kittens, and he was a protector.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It makes sense. I follow it. It's definitely, it's just so interesting to think about like how does your own experience as one actually even influence it, or what you're saying is more of the experience that you had from the actor who played it before with you is almost how it's like, oh, that's kind of how I had the reverse is how I took it into my production of that.
No, I mean, Joe was very, adamant that when a new cast came in to the production, and we had cast changes all the time, that they found their own way. So if they connected to someone else, they could go to somewhere else. And I know myself, when I became Skimble, I don't even think I noticed Corey and Tan. I don't even think we were on the same side of stage. The only times I noticed it at interval when we go out and play in the audience, the cue to come back on stage is when the twins come out on stage. So call twins are out. And that's the only time I think. And when they go, I believe it is old Deuteronomy. But, so it is kind of strange, the connections you make. I mean, as Skimble, I was an adult, so I hung around with more of the adults. I protected the kittens. But as Pouncival, I was a kitten, so I wanted to play with Victoria and Syllabub and Tumble Brutus. But Tumble was kind of going into that teenage sort of so it is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's Corey and Tan. I trying to play with Tan.
Yeah. I love hearing you say that there is that freedom, because that's kind of why this exists. I mean, this podcast doesn't exist if there isn't that freedom, because then there is no different answers to different questions of this if you don't have that freedom. It's the same way every time, and 40 years later, that's it. But I think that's also what makes it successful. Yeah, true.
I mean, Joe would also, in rehearsals, we would do between 30 and 45 minutes of play. as a cat in the room to discover these things. And yeah, at first we were like, oh my God, we have to, like, my knee's tired from yesterday's rehearsal. But you'd go, it was really good. Oh, funny story, actually. When we got a new Grizz, and we had been doing the show for a while, but with this new Grizz came a couple of new kittens. Joe was setting Remark, and when Grizz walks in, and she goes, she didn't really place it, and she just said, she placed certain things where certain cats would come up, but she wanted to see what we did. And a lot of the new cats would come up and they'd be like, and swipe her and hiss at her. But the older cats, we'd go up and we'd sniff her, and we noticed that like she smelled terrible. And we were like, oh God, this woman doesn't feel like she's had a shower. Anyway, at the end of that number, and Grizz and Delia Hannah, her name was, they did Remark. But Joanne said, okay, so Pouncival, why did you hiss at her? And our new Pouncival was like, oh, because we don't like her. And she goes, okay. Canamile, why did you? Oh, because, we'd been told she's. Then she went to, no, I must have been Corrie at the time, because my mate who was Skimble said, Skimble, why did you hiss at her? And she goes, and he went, I really feel awful saying this, but she smells. And Delia went, it's not my fault. What Joe had done a week before rehearsal started was get a piece of raw meat and leave it out in the sun for a week, and then put it in a plastic bag and perforate the bag, and made her wear it. She was wearing a Grizz coat in rehearsals under a Grizz coat. So we would use our senses to smell, and instead of just going, I'm a cat, I'm going to hiss and claw. So this poor woman, she's like, I do shower. It was the first time she met us. I do shower. I'm like, oh, wow. That's pretty full on.
That is... That is some interesting directing of like, I'm gonna.
Full on, yeah. It was awesome though. We never got a rehearsal tail. We only got it on the last day of rehearsal, and we had to bring our perfume or our cologne in, and we had to give it to stage management. They'd number it, and then at lunch we'd go out. They would spray a rehearsal tail with your cologne, and then they'd hide it. And when we came back as a cat, you had to find it. You had to match the smell, and you could go up to another cat and sniff them and try to find theirs. And if you found it, you took it to stage management, and they would tell you whether it was yours or not. So that's how you got your tail.
Wow. That is, so interesting to hear, because it's like the idea is to try to get you into character as much as possible. And it's, or I guess cat character.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joe said the first day of rehearsals, this is not a dance show. If you think this is a dance show, you've lost the point. It's an acting show. You need to be a feline for 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. You cannot stand up straight. You can't sit on your bum. You have to learn, especially if you're a stand-up cat, how to go from crawling to standing in a feline way. So she was amazing. Joe's amazing. She knew that show inside and out and knew how to get great performances out of us. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, poor Delia.
Yeah. So let's do some rapid fire. Okay. If you could go on for any cat for one night, forget whether you're capable, male, female. If you had one night on stage, who would you want to go on as?
It's either two, and it's either Vicky or Cassandra. I would love to be able to take my leg and hold it up there like Vicky does. But also anyone who can go on stage in either a white unitard, or Cassandra has no fur, and just have that body to look good.
Yeah.
Like as Skimble, I had a vest, I had arm warmers, leg warmers, I was covered up, and Pounce and Corrie as well. But those two girls, like their bodies were awesome, and I would love to look like that. I didn't even have to do the show. But yeah, probably those two. I went on for Mungo quite a bit. I love playing Mungo. That was fun because he's cheeky and And it was while I was playing choreograph, so it was a different pairing.
Yeah. To
be more playful than, I loved my Tance and we had fun, but to be on as Mungo with Rump and just cause trouble, it was great. So probably, if it wasn't those two, it would be Mungo.
Who are your favorite and least favorite cats in the show?
I know I sound biased, but I love Skimble. I do love Skimble. I always had loved Skimble. I just thought he was fun, and I loved the number. Least favourite is Bustopher.
Yeah. Common answer.
get rid of him.
Yeah, he has been in the Royal Caribbean Cruise 90-minute version. He's one of the ones cut.
Well done, Royal Caribbean. No, yeah. And as I said, our Buster Gus, Grau Tiger, both of the two that I had were both amazing. But yeah, Buster Tiger, look.
Yeah.
Even the number itself, I was like, every time it come on.
What's your favorite song from the show?
I loved Old Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
I went on the tugger once. Terrible. It was. I was like the fifth emergency to go on, but we were desperate. I'm only 5'8", so when you put that big cowl and the wig on, my resident director, Stephen Morganti's name, he said, "You look like the butchest cat," because I kind of look like this nugget of a thing, but you got to sing Old Deuteronomy with Monk. So I loved Old Deuteronomy. I mean, I love singing Skimble, but I did love Old Deuteronomy, I think.
Mm-hmm. So this is my fun question is, you got to do it in a circus tent, basically. Which cat do you think would be the best, like, circus ringleader?
Ringleader?
Or, whatever, like, run the circus. Who would be best in charge?
In charge? Well, this is stereotypical, but usually, you'd see more in the movies that the ringleaders are all a bit dodgy. I think McCavity.
Oh, interesting. I was thinking, I think personality too much. I see how you're going with it. Okay.
Yeah, he wouldn't pay the performers. They'd live in squalor, but he'd make all the money. So I'd say McCavity.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, we got the important question here. I know you got to take, but I've argued at length. I don't think it's Grizabella. So who's your Jellicle choice? And I want to know the Skimble answer, and I want to know the Darren answer.
Skimble is Skimble. Like, of course, he thinks it's Skimble. But it's not him. It's not him. Look, I think it's Grizz, but only for the reason that I think old Jute feels that he's lost control of the tribe. They're all very judgmental. All their numbers talk about themselves and about how good they are. And they need a bit of humility, and I think that's where he's brought Grizz in. He's the one that's gone, I think this cat can change the mindset of this cloud of cats. And so, she may not be the most worthy, but I think she's the one that's going to teach us a lesson. And that's why as I said, I think with Gus, like, I can see why people say Gus, because he's old and he's sweet, but he's I think locked in his memory of what a good life he has had. And I think to take that away for him to start all over again, I think that's kind of cruel, because he loves thinking about when he was Grau Tiger and when he fought Firefly Fiddle, the Fiend from the Fell. He loved all that, Dick Whittington's cat and all that. He loves all those memories. And I think to take that away for him when he's so cared for is a bit mean. To give it to Grizz, who she's not part of the group anymore. She really isn't. And I think if I've heard on your podcast that you've said, why can't she stay here now that she's been accepted? If I was Grizz, I wouldn't want to, knowing that these people who now have accepted me are like, oh, you sang a sweet song, we will let you back in. I'll be like, screw you. I don't want to come back. I just wanted to make you see what creeps you all were. Yeah. See ya. And go later.
That's an interesting take, because that was going to be my next question to you, which is I don't disagree with the lesson or the redemption arc. I think those are very real. And that's why the redemption arc, she stays. She does get to kind of hang out. The lesson, like teaching lesson, I guess my question would be is, does a choice have to be made every year? Because you can teach a lesson by not picking anybody. And
I reckon if none of us turned around at the end of memory, there'd be no choice.
No choice. Okay.
Yeah.
No, so I'm now at the point where no choice is better than Grizabella. So.
Yeah. No, right. Or he would have just said, screw you all, it's going to be Grizz, and there'll be no ball next year.
Yeah. Or one year he's got to pick himself. So maybe that's
no, I don't think he can. I think he's like, I think he was born into it. I think we treat him like royalty. Mm-hmm. And it's same with Monk. I think I could be wrong, but I think one of Monk's three words was princely, because I think he is part of that lineage. That
doesn't he want his time?
What do you mean?
Like I think like my only argument is I agree that you could say Old Deuteronomy does this for eternity, but the way they portray Monk is that he is stepping up to do this at some point. He's being like groomed to do it, and if he's being groomed to do it, and Old Deuteronomy's never going anywhere, it almost seems cruel.
No. Old Deuteronomy is going to die, but he's going to go straight.
Okay, so he's just going to die one day. He's not going to go.
He will die.
No jellicle choice, no heaviside layer, just out and Monk takes over.
Yeah, because I think where he's going, because he's on a higher plane to everyone else. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they do it in the new version, but at the start of Moments of Happiness, the start of Act 2,
mm-hmm.
when so everyone after he played in the audience would come back on stage and he starts singing, and at certain points you'd see the cats, you could see kind of them, their bodies kind of moving around, and that was him sending messages to us through the floor and that, and we're sort of receiving it. And that's what happens when he made Corey Kapat kind of lift his arm, and then Tance put her paw into his paw, and then she passes it on to Syllabub, who sings, did she sing Moonlight? So he's above everyone else. So he's going into a higher plane wherever he is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he's ethereal, I think.
Yeah. I I've always liked the teaching the lesson, because I've gone back to, is he making a choice every year? Is it the same decision-making criteria every year? Is it kind of on a whim? And it sounds like this was a year based on like Grizabella. It's like, no, he's got to teach a lesson. He's got to have a redemption. We've got to have this like acceptance piece back. But yeah. I still feel like it seems a little cruel to send her out after this like arc of bringing her back.
What homeless woman hurt you in a previous life? Yeah. Come on.
It's also too, it's like, I said when I saw it recently, I was just like, the Grizabella was so good. And I was like, why does your performance have to be so good? Because I've spent so long arguing against you, and then I get to hear you sing Memory, and I'm like, that is so powerful and so well done. And
they cast the Grizz quite young now, don't they?
They do. And I think that's part of where... Yeah, and I think that's maybe where I like some of my also like they should stay comes from, is because they're all they're younger, and so it's like it seems almost cool that she's had this like beat. I've called her like the bald Britney Spears age, where she's not that old. She's come back. She's now having this like, let her have her resurgence.
Well, the last production in Australia, they had a pop star here, Delta Goodrum, she played. So, and I know they had her young. They also had the rap tugger in that production.
The rap tugger. By the time this one comes out, I have talked to one, and I have gotten all my questions answered, which I will tell you about when we hang up.
The Aussie one?
So, yes, the Aussie one.
Oh, yeah, okay. He's awesome.
Yes. So I finally got that box checked for this podcast.
Oh, fantastic.
I've been trying for ages. Well, this has been so fun. I really appreciate you sharing your stories and theories. I love the Sex and the City. That's a great combination I hadn't thought about, which is fun because now I've got another show to compare cats to. But yeah, how can people stay in touch with you?
I guess on Instagram, I'm at Darren_A_Tyler. It's very boring, I know, but I'm not doing a show at the moment, but if and when I do, I'm kind of semi-retired of the dancing. I decided last year I was getting too old, but I still want to audition for shows. So you can keep, see what I do on that. I sometimes post.
Yeah, amazing. Well, this has been amazing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.
And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.